Man, oh man. 20 minutes to 30 minutes ago, just finished watching the new Avatar movie. Man, they did the gang dirty in that movie, man. The movie was all right. I'll get that out the way first. I think the movie overall was all right. It wasn't great, and I wouldn't say it was good either. It was all right. It was like manageable. You know what I mean? The thing that really had me worried when I first went into it was I don't want it to have Korra level writing. Because if you know me and my viewpoints, I think that Korra is a very well animated show, and it has a ton, like a good handful, 2 handfuls of fantastic ideas, but the execution on Korra is just really poor. I'm not saying everything, but I'm saying as a whole, like if you were to put it in on average, if you look at the general conciseness for The Legend of Korra, it's just a poorly executed show. But anyways, back to the Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender movie. The movie had a lot of moments like that where it felt like throughout the entire movie it was a ton of inconsistencies, which, by the way, if you want to watch my reaction to the movie, it is on my Patreon. And if you're watching this on Twitch, it's linked on my profile. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be linked inside of the description down below. I'm just promoting that because that's where I can do these kind of more chilled back, relaxed streams of us going through movies, shows, anything else that is like super cool that I can't really go through on Twitch or YouTube in totality, but I can do that on Patreon a lot more safely. There was just a bunch of inconsistencies when you look at everything that was being done in the Avatar Aang movie. First off, I don't like the changing in the voice acting. I just don't. I've already said that from the trailer. There's almost zero reason to do it, and the only right way to change is if the voice actors themselves genuinely don't want to come back, or some of them passed away, the same way that they did for Uncle Iroh. The Toph voice actress has already been on record saying that she would have came back if they asked. Aang would have came back if they asked. He's an adult, so getting him to play the adult Aang sounds like a natural progression. He played him as a kid, so it would sound perfect to play him as an adult. He's gonna sound a little bit more raspy, but he still has that Aang voice. It just felt like an entirely different character when you start changing the voices. The Katara re-voice was like, it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it was okay. Toph is the one that really was super jarring. Toph and Zuko. Sokka, he did okay. I would say Katara and Sokka did okay. None of them were good, but they definitely did okay. Katara was the best one though. But Toph, it just felt like a really cringy moment. And there's 2 moments in the movie where she ends up trying to do, or not even trying, she ends up doing the classic, I'm still the best earthbender in the world. And the way that she does it is just like, ugh. I guess voices is probably the least of the concerns. The writing in the actual show, I'm not gonna go fully in depth for just in case you still haven't seen it, but you have to look at somebody that's telling a story about a fully realized avatar, which he was already a fully realized avatar by the time he was 12. It's stated at the end of the show that by the end of the war, like at that fighting Ozai, he was a fully realized avatar. He mastered all the elements. Toph already said there's nothing that she can teach him. I guess technically she could teach him metal bending, but Aang is like at his peak of peaks already. Like he at 12, and he's only getting stronger by time you see him in the movie. He's about like 26 or something. So you have inconsistencies of him doing like crazy shit when he was younger that he's not doing in this movie. One really big example is pretty early, like in the first quarter of the movie, you have Aang fighting inside of one of the air temples. In fact, it's the southern air temple where he was born, where he's from. And in the midst of that, a huge portion of the temple, like just one portion of the tower, starts toppling over because an explosion happens in there accidentally. Tell me why Aang needed to go into the Avatar state to lift the building up. He could have just put rock pillars to support himself, and then because he's stronger and an adult now, he could just easily push that shit over. But they made an effort in showing, oh, I'm gonna use the Avatar state like Korra uses the Avatar state. I'm gonna go into it just to do this one little task. Why? Or you could have, I feel like a better way of doing that, they could have shown a semblance of how Roku used to use the Avatar state, especially since Aang typically talks to Roku the most. They could have done a situation where he glows up for literally like a second, maybe 2 seconds, gets that strength, that power, boom, gets whatever job done that he needs to get done. Not, oh, I'm gonna go into the full Avatar state and stay in this to push this tower back over. There were lots of moments in the movie like that. I can't remember exactly, but I counted that he used the Avatar state like 10 to 12 times in this movie. And the only justifiable, literally the only justifiable one, was towards the end of the movie, when his life and the entire gang's life are in danger. And you know he gets fucking serious when it comes about Appa and Katara over everybody else in the group, because they're his family, literally. You know, like, he's married to Katara, you know what I mean? Like, and Appa is his best friend. They're bonded at the womb, basically, themselves, because the Air Bison's relationship to their partner is like very strong spiritually and physically. So the only justifiable Avatar state was like at the end of the movie. The one that you could say is like iffy was probably a little past the quarter mark, where he ends up meeting Taga. They're free falling. It's almost like an entire mountain essentially is like falling upon, sort of like a half of a mountain. Excuse me. Is like coming down and falling down. But literally in the same scene, it shows that Taga ends up just using nothing but airbending to keep it held up. I'm sorry, but 12-year-old Avatar Aang is stronger than Taga. Let's get that shit straight. Taga just knows techniques, because he's like a 5,000-year-old airbender. He just knows better techniques, but he's not stronger than 12-year-old Aang, much less adult Aang, brother. He just, again, has technique. It's no different than if the Hulk is going to freaking fight Spider-Man. The Hulk is clearly stronger than Spider-Man, but Spider-Man he's faster, he has technique. You know what I mean? It's something like that. Like, it doesn't matter how huge you are as a character, as a fighter. If you're stronger, you know, if somebody has better technique, they're gonna still fucking beat you. That's what it comes down to. That's usually how real life fights work. It's usually never just, oh, this person is stronger, he has bigger muscles. It's like, who actually here knows how to fucking fight, or just who knows how to fight better. For clarity's sake, what I'm saying is I personally believe that 12-year-old Aang is stronger, but Taga would probably win in a fight just because he has certain techniques and different techniques that could win. However, in this scenario of like something falling down, power and strength matters probably a lot more. I guess technique of bending could be factored in general, but if you're just a powerful bender with whatever element, you're probably going to be able to affect the mountain or the terrain around you regardless. So Aang should have had zero problem with that mountain, is what I'm saying. And I just felt like there was a lot of moments in the movie where it would showcase just that type of inconsistency of like, oh, Aang needs the Avatar state for this one small task. Why? You know, outside of that, I would say the animation was great. They had a lot of flashbacks in it. They had a lot of flashbacks in the show that really made me want to like revisit the OG, but with that animation style. I will say they did a really good job of keeping the personalities alive. That was a really big thing for me. Even if you change the voices, keeping the personality alive is just as important, if not, I think more important. That's the most important. So yeah, I feel like they did a really good job of keeping the personality alive in each of the characters, regardless of the voice. I was surprised by how well Sokka's comedic timing was still on point, because, you know, to write some of these characters, you really got to be in the mindset. I guess it's a good thing that they did bring back some of the original writers of the OG, but again, there's just so much inconsistency. I'm sorry if I'm just like being repetitive. I'll try to like wrap this up. The fight scenes were really good. It was some actually, I think that's probably the best part of the movie. It was the choreography behind the fights. And the second best thing about the movie is the lore. I personally feel that if you can't stomach everything else that this movie is doing, like butchering kind of the characterization of Aang, because Aang is in his head a lot in this movie. Like, he's mentally down. That, like, so they kind of debuff, they literally debone all of the characters, the entire gang, and they kind of just give them like that Boruto treatment. They make them seem way weaker, so that way the final villain can actually seem like a tangible threat to them. Because let's be real here, Zuko didn't shoot lightning a single time in this movie, and they were inside of a ship being scared of a huge vortex hurricane storm, while Aang was trying to undo and spin the opposite way and undo the tornadoes and shit. Excuse me. There were freaking lightning like hitting the ship, and I'm like, both Aang and Zuko can redirect lightning. This is literally just a normal storm. This is not like super powered, amped up lightning. It's a regular ass storm, purple lightning coming out the sky. Zuko could have gotten his ass up on that ship, redirected it. So like, where's the major threat? They definitely did Toph so dirty, because she had so many moments in this movie in her fights where I was like, that would have already been over. If this was OG Toph, that literally would have already been over. And I would say they did the same thing for Katara. Katara was consistent with like using her waterbending, but she wasn't consistent in the effectiveness of it. It wasn't just like she was using it on amped up people or just the big bad. She was using her waterbending on a lot of stuff. Healing, fighting multiple opponents at the same time. It's just like they shafted every character in this movie, and Aang probably had it maybe the worst, just because of how in his head he was. It was like every time that I had a thought, wow, they need to change this, or like he would do something different here, but then the scene showcases and shows like his facial expressions, and then obviously with the context of the scene, you can kind of tell like what he was talking about, what he was thinking about. So I do feel like they did a pretty decent portrayal of Aang's grief in this movie, but Lord, they scuffed everybody. So I don't know. I would say if you were gonna go watch this movie, to sum it up, if you wanted to watch this movie and you are hearing a lot of negativity, it's probably true. I would say if you're a real fan of the Avatar universe, watch the movie for the lore, because you get lore on Republic City, you get lore on the air temple, quote unquote air temple. I don't think it was classified as one in Korra, because it was just Air Temple Island or some shit like that. But where Tenzin lives, you get to see the creation of that and why it came about. You get to see where Aang starts to like hang out and like train new nomads. So there's a lot of good history and lore in this movie, and that's what I would say is the highlighting factor. Everything else is kind of like it's iffy, it's whatever. You might just like the characters returning like I do, but over everything, I would say just the lore of everything was the most interesting portion of the movie, and how they started building bridges to connect to Korra. And I would say the same thing about Korra. The coolest thing about Korra is like you watch it just so you know the Avatar history. Like you just want to consume more of this universe. That's really the highlighting feature of both the Korra and this film. Anyways, I yapped long enough about it. I'm not a reviewer. I'm not like a super critic or anything. I'm just saying, if you wanted to watch my full my full reaction and how I was feeling in the moment, again, go over to the Patreon. It's linked down in the description below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there because the world's a crazy ass place. Peace. Again, sorry for the repetitiveness. I was extremely tired. You can see it in my eyes if you go back and frame by frame through this video. Thank you again so much for all love and support. Stay safe out there.
Lights down low, but spirits so high. Game controller in hand, ready to fly. The night's a playground where time stands still. In this cozy nook, let's get our thrill. Pencils shining bright in the midnight glow. Leveling up in a world we know. Laughing together as the hours drift by in this gaming sanctuary.